Fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Does that mean we're live? New to this game. Brian, when you're... Hi, Saxon. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up? How are you?
Living the dream.
I love it.
It's someone else's nightmare, so I feel kind of bad, but whatever. I'm still living the dream in it. Saxon, do you know Brian Friend and Ryan Jevning? Can you see Ryan?
I can see both of them. I don't think I've ever met either of you. Maybe I have. I just don't remember. Brian, you kind of look familiar.
We've probably seen each other, but I don't think we've had a chance to talk much.
You've met him too, Ryan? Saxon, have we ever met in person? Do you remember if we've ever met in person? I mean, I know I've seen you at the games in Carson, like in the car, like when you guys drive around and Scott jumps in, but I don't know if I've seen you since you're your own person.
I think that's about it.
Awesome.
I don't even think I could drive then.
Yeah, maybe not. I just remember seeing you guys. It was crazy. You guys were like mini Scotts.
Yeah, bald heads.
Is that era over?
The bald head?
No, not the bald head. The I'm Scott's little brother.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
we were
Scott.
just talking about that.
Yeah,
it's
Scott.
funny,
It's over, buddy. It's over. Yeah, Scott.
I'll get called Scott for the next 10 years though, I'm sure.
I mean, you guys obviously all you guys look alike. You're from the same, I guess. I mean, I'm making the assumption you have the same mom and dad, but in some of the photos on your Instagram, like you guys really look alike. I don't know. I can't tell if it's you or Spencer, but one of you, when you're next to him, you could be his twin. I'm like, holy shit.
That's definitely Spence, especially whenever they had shaved heads. It's funny, we would go swimming and everyone would think Spence and Scott were twins, and I was the odd man out.
That they were the twins and you were the younger brother? Yeah. Is your
I always look really young, I feel like.
Does your wife have a twin also?
Yeah, she has an identical twin as well.
Wow.
And now you guys just said twins.
Yeah.
Say that again? And now you have identical twins.
Yeah.
Is that a given? Like, I don't know biology too well, but is that a given that you guys would have twins?
No, so fraternal twins, that's genetic, and then identical twins is more just like a fluke. So it's totally random.
Wait, really? That's the way it is? Because isn't fraternal twins mean that, like, that's what I have? That's like the lady dropped 2 eggs?
Yeah, and it like skips generations or something like that, I believe.
Oh, I thought, shit, I don't know what I'm talking about. But when my wife got pregnant when she was over 35, and someone told us, like, hey, women who are over 35 start dropping multiple eggs.
Oh, that could be true.
Yeah, hey, can you tell? Are you in a coffee shop?
I am. Is it too loud?
Just turn around and tell those people to shut the fuck up. It's mellow. It's easy. It's chill. Maybe take your shirt off first.
Too loud.
Maybe roll your sleeves up like we used to do in the 80s. Like give it a couple rolls and then just
slide a pack of cigarettes under there.
It's definitely quieter here than it is at my house.
Hold on, I can't hear you. Ryan's messing with the audio. Hold on. I think Ryan's doing some adjustments to try to get rid of your background noise. Everyone popped on and off for a second, right? Did everyone go black and then back on?
Yeah.
And now I can't hear you guys. That's weird. Hold on. Let me see what's going on. Okay, I'm back. Ryan, did you try to remove his background audio?
Do you want me to? I can go to my car.
Is that, yeah. Will you still be on the Wi-Fi?
I should be. It's parked pretty close. You want me to go try?
Yeah, let's give it a try because I have some.
Are you recording right now?
We are. We're live on, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're live on YouTube, but it's our show. It doesn't matter. No sponsors, no listeners, no shits given. Brian, and while you do that, I'm just going to yell at Brian a little bit. Brian, do you know how I can't look at the comments when you're not here because I'm singularly focused on Rich, and if I look away from him, I'm being rude. So that's 10 burpees for you, Brian, for not being here yesterday. And then I have to cut the podcast short because I can't take a leak. So like at an hour, I'm like, okay, Rich, it was nice talking to you. And I'm like, I have Rich Froning on, but I have to get off because I have a bladder the size of a 4-year-old girl. Yeah, that's sexist. I know.
I told one of the guys at the gym I was coaching during that time. I said, could be on podcast with a Rich Froning right now, and he goes, "Well, you should have done that. You shouldn't have come here. We'd be fine."
You got to make.
Or do we?
Oh, now we have an ass connection. I love it. Now we can't hear anything. Hey, can you just drive your car into the lobby of that coffee shop? Oh, it's the story of our show. It's the story.
You asked for
of
too
our
much,
show.
Sevan. You asked for
I
too
did.
much.
I did. Craig says, while we wait for Saxon to come back, first time watching live. This is epic. Thanks, Craig. Bruce Wayne, welcome, fellas. Where is Spencer? Great question. Probably crying somewhere, pissed off that his brother made it and he didn't. Shout out to my boy who deserved third. Did he deserve third, Brian? What's going on with Saxon? Why is that guy saying that?
That's Tyler Watkins, the scoring guy.
Okay.
So
yes. So there's a guy in the comments here, Tyler Watkins. We did a podcast with him where he gave his ideas on a new scoring system, and we should have put it up last week, but I'm struggling putting it up because I'm not even sure I understood the podcast. So I'm going to give it one more listen before I put it up, and we may have to redo that one. But thank you, Tyler, for coming on. It has nothing to do with you. It could have to do with the fact that I have an immature brain. Someone posted in the comments in the Rich Froning thing. It's really nice, Sevan, that how respectful you were and that you didn't use the word penis in this podcast, and it makes you seem more professional. You had me until you said it makes you sound more professional. I do not want to sound professional. Not in anyone's eyes out in the world, at least. Except maybe my mom's. Froning podcast was a therapy session on marriage and kids. It could have been. It was close. We scratched the surface. I'm down for a redo. Thanks. Oh, it's Jason Watkins. Oh, is his middle name Tyler?
Yeah.
What's your middle name, Brian?
Nicholas.
Brian, Nicholas, friend.
Yeah.
I want to ask Saxon when he comes back. Is Saxon coming back, Ryan? Do you think he'll ever come back, or he's like, fuck these guys? Could you send him a text? Yeah. And then if you guys want to tear him up in the comments, feel free, like about his lack of professionalism for doing a podcast in a coffee shop on a phone. Don't focus on my swearing or my immaturity.
We're probably at more phone interviews than computer at this point.
Back in a coffee shop.
You are. How old are you?
25.
Is that normal? Like you're 20, like your generation doesn't do computers, you only do phones?
I don't even have a computer.
Yeah, I knew it.
My wife has one, so I guess I kind of do.
How old's your wife? Is she 18?
No, she's 25 too.
Oh, okay. Because she looks young.
Yeah.
When you go out with her, you better make sure she always has ID on her. You could get handcuffed and taken away. Why did your parents name you Saxon?
They ran out of S names, so there's 6 of us. So Sean, Scott, Steven, Shayna, Spencer, and then Saxon. I guess it could have been Sam.
Steve.
Steve. Steven. I have Steve too. Steve's in my family.
Oh.
Have you ever met another Saxon?
I met someone with the same last name, so their last name was Saxon.
Interesting.
But that's about it.
And does it mean anything?
No. I mean, I'm sure there's like some meaning to it, but nothing too like significant to us.
I think there was a video game when I was a kid called Saxon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was just wondering if your parents were like video game geeks. Do you know that game, Brian?
Saxon, were you first out or was Spencer first out?
I was first.
And they gave you the made-up name and him the actual name?
Oh, man. Hey, the second kid always gets the like, okay, the throwaway name. Like, okay, these are our two best names, and we have two kids. Okay, the second guy. So they must have liked Saxon better.
Probably.
How is your brother? Not the
Which one?
older one.
Spencer?
Yeah, the younger
He's
one.
good. He's good. I felt like as soon as we came back from the games, he just dove right into training for next year and trying to get out to some of these other events in the rest of 2021.
I don't believe you.
I promise. He's actually at my house now training.
Is he good? Like, if something happens, like if I yell at one of the twins, the other one will kind of like just come and stand up for him. Or if like one of them starts crying, the other one will go over and hug him, and they'll just start giving me the stink eye. It's pretty crazy. It actually, I don't know if it's real or they're just doing it to mess with me, but it's a very, very good tactic. When you made it to the games, is he just tore up? Or no, more importantly, are you tore up? Is he okay with it? And you're just devastated that your brother didn't make it? That's such a great question. And Saxon vanished. God damn it.
It's always, you don't know if he might have still heard you though.
There's someone in the coffee shop next to him, like pirating movies and taking all the bandwidth. We have Dallin Pepper coming on. I don't know why he didn't make it to the games, but I get all excited when I saw him on Instagram, and I was like, shit, let's get him on. And he agreed.
He also coached a kid who got second place in the teenage boys 16 to 17 division. So we could tell him we got him on for that reason.
Yeah, that's cool. He doesn't have the 100,000 followers prerequisites to come on the show, and he didn't go to the games, and yet here we are, excited to have Dallin Pepper on. Jesus, Saxon.
Dallin's a good one to talk to, actually, though. He's doing some others. I mean, he's obviously very good, and I think he will make the games in the next year or two, but he also has a lot of other influences in the community and space, I think.
Say that one more time. I was reading comments.
He does some other stuff besides just be excellent at CrossFit. Like he's, he has his own training and coaching program that he runs, and then he's actually helping out with the Pit Teen Throwdown, which is, I think, the premier event for teenagers in the space right now. And he's like kind of coming as a guest and a role model for those younger. He's only 19, but everyone who's competing there is, younger than him.
He's already selling programming. Dallin Pepper is.
Yeah, and one of the kids he coaches took second place this year at the teenage division.
Using that programming, I'm assuming.
That guy was already good, but he, became better, or he did better after working with Dallin. Yeah.
Saxon, are you using Dallin Pepper's programming? Is that how you got to the games?
No, Facundo.
Oh, right. Well, while you were away, we told the whole story about how you followed Dallin Pepper's programming. So everyone disregard what we said. No, we didn't. I'm joking.
Saxon, maybe that's where you recognize me from, because I wrote that article about Facundo, and that highlighted you and your brother and Yorgos and Sasha.
Didn't we talked about the games, right? A check-in.
Yeah, we might have spoke real quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Facundo's kind of buff, huh?
He is. I wouldn't mess with him.
I haven't seen him. I only remember running into him, I don't know, 10 years ago, here and there. He was pretty low key, but when I went on your Instagram, I realized, shit, the guy's everywhere. And Brian mentions his name a lot in good light too. But then on your Instagram, he has like traps and shit, and like he's all buff and shit. But like in person, I didn't get that impression from him.
You saw that on my Instagram?
I think. No? Yeah. I went through all your Instagram photos last night. That's what's crazy about going through people's Instagrams. Like someone like you've basically been doing CrossFit your whole life, it seems like.
Yeah, as soon as I started my Instagram.
Yeah. So there's no like dirt on you. It's all like good, wholesome, like it's just all clean and jerks.
Pretty much, yeah. Heavy weights for what I thought was when I was young.
So let's start at the top. So you're 25 years old. How much do you weigh?
About 185.
And do you think you're at the peak of your career?
No, I think I'm getting there. I think I felt like this year I finally had all of the puzzle pieces together. I think there's some things like mentally that I need to figure out. But I would say like physically, all the pieces are there as to being a well-rounded athlete.
I'm not as smart as Brian, but I will be completely honest with you. There was a point in the games where the thought started creeping in my head that you could win it this year. Like I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, is Saxon gonna win it?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. There was a point where I was letting that creep in. Like, hey, Sevan, go have a cigarette. Like I was like, it was like, oh, it was interesting. Did you feel that way at all? Did you feel like at any point during the games, like, oh shit, did you have any
Uh,
transformation during the games this year?
um, yeah, I mean, going into the games, that's always my thought, is, winning the games. But I think you go through a lot of different emotions throughout the games as to like, okay, am I there? Am I not there? Based off of events and how well you did in events. Um, at the end of the day, like, yeah, that's how I felt. But I also know that like everybody else, I would like to think, is thinking the same thing. And, it's anybody's game. So like I was trying not to get too caught into that and really just focusing on my execution in workouts more than anything. And I knew if I could execute everything perfectly, that could happen.
You said you were the first of your twins. The first
Yeah.
one came out, and how much were you when you were born?
I want to say like 7 pounds,
Okay, so you put on 178 pounds.
something like that.
That's a first run at that joke. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that I used it on Saxon. And so you're born, and no more younger kids than you and Spencer. You guys are the youngest in the family,
Right.
and then Scott's the one just right above you,
Correct.
and then there's a bunch up top, even older.
I have one more older brother, one below Scott, and then I have a sister below that brother.
Okay, and I've seen and I've seen sprinkles of them on your Instagram, especially your sister. Your sister like went to the games with you a few times, right? When you were younger.
Yeah. Yeah. She always went to the game. She's been to the game since 2012, watching. And then this was her first year going, and she went to a semifinal, quarterfinal, whichever one. She went to the West Coast on a team.
Yeah, I spoke to them out there actually.
Yeah.
They were very nice.
And you and your brother own a gym?
Correct. CrossFit
Oh.
Cliffside.
And where is that?
Cleveland. So we're about 20 minutes west of Cleveland. East of Cleveland. Sorry.
And Scott owns a gym.
Yeah. He's about 20 minutes from us. So he's about 40 minutes from Cleveland.
And what's the name of his gym?
CrossFit Mentality.
That's right. And is that the same one your parents are a part of, or do they own a separate gym, a third gym?
No. So my dad owned a gym in Pittsburgh before he moved out to Ohio. And he moved out here to help Scott open up his gym. Once Scott had his gym up and running, my dad came out and he helped us open up our gym. So he's kind of been really the guy that helps us open up these businesses and really kind of show us the ropes into that.
And does that work? Like, does
Yeah.
that work, having your dad help you? Or are you like, I mean, I would think like at your age, you're kind of like, hey, like you get along with your dad that well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's taught us pretty much everything we know into like sports and mental toughness and business. So it truly takes a team around us. And whenever we first opened up our gym, it was just Spencer and I and him, and being able to distribute classes and compete, it's been a huge help.
So your dad kind of put that plan together. Hey guys, if you're going to open a gym and teach classes and compete, these are the things you need to think about. This is what you have to prioritize.
Yeah, him and Scott both did that. Like I said, I feel like we're all like kind of like just one big team. And in order to do that, we kind of did that and bounced ideas off of each other.
And you're only 20 minutes. Your gyms are only 20 minutes apart. Yours and Scott.
A little further than that. Probably like 27, if I'm being exact. So it's far enough that we're like people aren't like in between having to like choose which gym to go to. So like we try to make sure that the demographics that we chose, we're pulling from a whole different group of people.
What, you're afraid of competition?
No, we just want to reach as many people as we can.
You're a good dude. So your dad's like, you're like, man, my dad knows everything. He knows business. He knows sports. He knows this. All right, I'll throw him a curveball. He thinks he's the shit. I'll have twins. I'll throw twins into the mix. Now what you got, Dad?
Right. But even whenever it comes to twins, I mean, he raised twins. Obviously my mom did, and like he's able to help with that as well.
I had a guy on the podcast. I'm really bummed I can't remember his name. It's the only civilian owned CrossFit gym in Afghanistan. He's a Ukrainian guy and an American woman own it there. And he had 5 kids. And then when he had his 6th and 7th kid, they were twins. And he told me that twins are harder than 5 kids. And I have twins, and I can't really imagine that. I would go with twins over the 5 kids. Although I would love to have 5 kids, don't get me wrong, but when you have twins, it's just like everyone talks about how hard it is and whatnot, but you kind of just do it, right? It's
Right.
not like it's just like you're not sitting there going, "Oh my God, this is so hard." You're just like, "All right, I'm just doing this."
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what we were saying. We were happy we had twins first. I think it'll make, anytime we have one kid super easy. But like you said, yeah, it's like it is what it is. Like whenever you got to wake up in the middle of the night, like you're going to wake up in the middle of the night. Like there's no reason to complain about not sleeping and changing diapers. Like that's the life that you chose. And I think it's a very blessed opportunity to be able to have.
Yeah, we had twins second, and we haven't had any more kids since. But I was actually thinking I hate to say this, but I would be disappointed if we ever had more kids and we didn't have twins.
Right.
And I kind of explained it like this: like getting a puppy is awesome, but when you have 2 puppies or 2 kittens, you see them do stuff that the people who had one will never, ever, ever see, and it's nuts.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and like being able to be a twin, like that, and you have that. Like, it's always funny because like I always felt like the bar was being set higher and higher and higher, and like I think having a twin and then having 4 older siblings, it was the same thing that like this was always the standard, and it was always higher than like what we thought. Just when you think you like got to that standard, it gets set even higher, which I think is really cool.
Explain that to me a little more, like objectify that for me. Give me an example of that.
All right, so we'll compare it to CrossFit, right? So whenever I got into CrossFit and I moved out with Scott, I was 16, and he was hitting 335, 355 clean and jerks. I'm like, okay, I would probably weigh maybe $145, and I'd hit 275, and I always felt like that was, still not good enough. And then my twin brother, who weighed the same thing, would go hit 300. I'm like, are you kidding me?
This is at 16 you guys were doing this at 145 pounds?
Like 16, 17, yeah.
Oh my God.
Not saying it was necessarily the best thing for our bodies at the time. And I think that's like one thing that we learned, and we started to back off a little bit and focus more on the integrity of the movement. And we knew that if we wanted to have a long life in the sport, that we needed to be able to move well. I think the issue was our technique was so good for our age that we were lifting weights that our body, I don't think, was necessarily capable of. So we were putting ourselves in positions that we probably shouldn't have. So I think I learned that pretty early on, that I needed to start to dial that back a little bit. And then like as I started to put on more weight, I felt like those weights went up higher and higher.
And so you told 2 stories there at once. One, it's just the expectation, because there's a built-in, I don't want to say one-upsmanship because that sounds bad, but there's built-in motivation. And then on top of that, though, there's a dangerous side to it too, meaning you guys can push harder than what really you should be.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And I learned that through some slight injuries, nothing like too severe. I was lucky enough, and I felt like as soon as, like 17, 18 years old, I shouldn't have knee issues or back issues. And I really started to dial that back a little bit, and focus on a lot of like pause squats and higher repetitions with lighter loads. And I noticed that was very beneficial. And, whenever I did come back to those heavy lifts, like they went up, instead of being 10 pounds every 2 months, it was now 20 pounds.
Wow. By dialing it back, you were getting better results on the top end too.
Right. And it allowed me to cycle heavier loads and work out. So like whenever you get into like an open workout where there's a clean and jerk ladder and you got to move 275 for 9 reps, I think it really helped with stuff like that, as opposed to like true 1 rep maxes.
Is your brother dating the other twin?
No.
Oh, wouldn't that be a trip?
Oh, I know.
Because you had that one post where you guys are on the stairs. By the way, that post is cool, but it's a complete fail because we can't tell you guys apart, so we can't tell you guys are moving around. But anyway,
Which one's that?
like the I think the girls are behind you on the stairs and you and your brother in front, and then like you turn the lights off and then you guys all switch around. And I watched it 4 times
yeah.
and I'm like, fuck this. I'm not gonna ever figure this out. I'm gonna need like paper and pencil. I get what you guys are trying to do. But no. So you're born a twin. You're born in, where did you say you were born originally? Ohio, Cleveland,
Pittsburgh,
Pennsylvania. Sorry, you said that. And then when do you start getting into sports and movement? And is life good? Your parents are still together, huh?
Yeah. So,
life's good.
Life's good. Yeah, it's kind of it's a long story, but so like whenever we were young, like we got into CrossFit at around 12, but before then we were really into football. My brothers were all played in college, and it was something that Spencer and I wanted to do. And my dad would always run football camps with people, and we would always go play football with these high school and college kids. And, you know, our brothers were there. So we were always, again, kind of very similar to like what we're doing in CrossFit, we were doing with football. Now when it was 11 or 12 years old, Spencer and I were in a hiking accident where we fell off of a cliff. And we now had those contact sports taken away from us because of our head injuries.
Okay, hold on a second. When you were 11, you fell off a cliff?
Yeah.
Let's pause there and look into that a little bit. God, the other day, one of my kids somersaulted into a 12-foot bowl at the skate park. Oh, God. So, he had a helmet on. Were you wearing a helmet?
I was not wearing a helmet.
Yeah, it's not something people wear when they go hiking. Okay, so tell me that story a little bit.
Yeah, so
it was Saturday morning. You were having your breakfast.
Right, yeah, and we decided to go to the park, and it was Spencer, I, and a couple of our friends. And as we were hiking, one of the girls that we were with, the pathway ended up giving way, and she fell off a 75-foot cliff. So she
Wait a second. What park has a 75-foot cliff? And
Pittsburgh.
And you're 11 years old, and was there an adult with you?
Yeah, so like this pathway that we were on, it kind of merged into two different directions. So we were said, hey, we'll go this way, and you go this way, and we'll meet at the end. And as we were walking, she ended up falling off of it.
Did you see that? I
did see that. And there was about 6 or 7 of us there. And I was like, hey, I got to go down there. Like, she was unconscious. Like, in my opinion, I thought she looked dead. So I was concerned. I'm like, I got to get down there and make sure she's okay.
Wait, sorry. You were 11 at the time.
Yeah.
And who is the oldest person who was with you?
It was, minus the adults, it was probably me.
But the adults weren't like, I'm going to go down?
They didn't know that happened because they went the other way.
Sorry.
We were supposed to meet them at the end.
Okay.
So I was like, hey, I got to go down there and check on her. So I tried to like ease my way down there, and I ended up slipping and I fell off of it. And I ended up hitting I believe I like landed on my head. So I ended up getting a skull fracture and a brain bleed from that. So now there's 2 of us laying unconscious. So my twin brother's like, hey, I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to try another way. And he tried to come down. He actually fell off a 100-foot cliff down beside us. And I don't know what my other friends were doing.
This is like a video game. This is like, okay, we have 5 lives. Let's try to get down this cliff. This is crazy. This is a crazy story.
Yeah. So I don't know what my other friends were doing. Nobody called 911 or anything. So I just remember waking up and I see Spencer, and he ended up getting his leg caught on a tree. So like he had like this big chunk taken out of his leg to where you could see his femur, and he was like crawling over towards me, and I saw him and I just like threw up and passed out. So he was able to call 911.
How? He had a cell phone?
Yeah, we just got cell phones for Christmas, and this happened in March. So we had cell phones for like 3 or 4 months.
I hope you beat those other kids' asses. Those other kids.
So he ended up calling 911, and they couldn't locate us. So all of a sudden, my mom's at home, and she gets a call from a 911 dispatcher and says, hey, your 2 sons fell off of a cliff, and we can't find them. And she's like, what are you talking about? So my older brother, Steven, ended up going to the park that we were at, and he went to the very bottom. And I just remember he called me, and he's like, what's around you? And I'm like, trees. I was like so out of it. And I told him that there was this one box at the bottom of the cliff. So he's running down along these railroad tracks trying to locate us, and he was actually the first one to find us. So my older brother actually beat the first responders there, and he got to us, and he was able to get everybody there. And then we ended up getting life flighted down to Pittsburgh, and then we began a recovery process.
How close did the girl survive?
Yeah, she had, I don't want to say only, but she had a punctured lung. So she was in the hospital for a few days, and then she was cleared. I had a lot of brain injuries and head injuries. Spence had head injuries as well, and then his whole thing with his leg. And we were in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and ended up having to get homeschooled for the rest of the year. And then we had all contact sports taken away from us. And that's actually how we got into CrossFit, because we were on pretty much couch potatoes for 3 to 4 months. And we started to put on a little bit of weight, and my dad was doing CrossFit at a YMCA. And he's like, hey, like, let's go join a gym and let's do this together as a family. And that summer, we all would load up in the car and we would go down to CrossFit Pittsburgh and train together.
Your poor fucking mom. Holy shit.
She's a champ.
That's like the worst phone call you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
So did you have like a subdermal hematoma? Did you have like a blood swelling in your brain, and they had to like cut open the side of your skull and peel it down and like drain it all out and all that?
No, luckily it wasn't that bad. So I had a skull fracture in the back, and it was weird because like my whole head started to turn green. I said I was like the Incredible Hulk, but it started to turn green, and they said that was like just part of the recovery. I'm assuming it was kind of like a black and blue mark or something. But they just said pretty much if I get hit in the head again, that could be it. So that's whenever they took sports away from me.
Yeah, that when I was 7, I crashed on my bike and bounced my head off a curb, and I spent a couple weeks in the hospital, and they had to do the whole thing where cut my skull open and drain the pressure off my brain, and it got really close to me. Like, I think they said something along my parents like, hey, well, we don't know the severity of the damage until he becomes conscious again. Like, you could have a little vegetable on your hands.
Oh wow.
Yeah, could explain a lot. And but thank God, like, they couldn't take any sports away from me because I didn't play sports. I watched TV. I was a professional TV watcher, so like it was like perfect. Like, it just enhanced my career of watching like the Three Stooges and the Brady Bunch. And are you familiar with those shows, the Three Stooges and the Brady Bunch?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Saxon, you still cannot do contact sports?
So I started to like work back into it a little bit. I had to go through a long process for them to clear me. So I played basketball in high school for a little bit until junior year. And that's whenever I made the decision to move from Pittsburgh to Ohio and started to really pursue CrossFit. That was in 2012. Scott went to the games the first year, and I was like, okay, this is like something that I want to do. So in 2014, we ended up moving out and doing that.
At 16 years old, sorry, Brian, at 16 years old, you moved out of your parents' house and in with your brother?
No. We all moved. So our whole family actually picked up and moved out here to be able to do that.
Okay.
When you're like getting ready for the swimming events at the games, do you tell the guys, you're like, listen, if you want to kick someone in the head, make it anyone but me?
That was the one thing I was worried about this year, actually. But I was glad we had flippers. But I mean, everybody with flippers, you know, if they put their arms up and their legs up, everybody's over 8 feet. And I was like, okay, just don't get kicked.
No, it's all it's all better now. You're all good now. That's all just like he was probably good in 6 months. They just have to tell you that shit. And then you got these two parents that are scared shitless, so they're like, hey, it's just, go ahead.
I think it was more just football. And I think, you know, you see what happens in the head injuries in football more than anything. I actually wrestled a little bit in high school as well. I wrestled growing up. So yeah, I did get back into like somewhat contact sports, but because of that, I was able to get into like true CrossFit because I found out that could be competitive.
God, imagine how good my kids would be, how amazing they'd be if they had your dad. Oh my God. You guys would have been just the experiment, and then he could have taken mine, and you should just give your twins to your dad. You're like, here you go, Dad.
And Saxon, is it a fair assumption that this story from when you were 11 has something to do with the name of your gym?
Yeah, for sure. So when we were coming up with names for our affiliate, it's like, I mean, we went through pretty much all the basics that you could think of, like CrossFit terms. And we were like, okay, like what really got us into this? Like we wanted to have some type of meaning. and we came up with Cliffside, even though there's no hills in Ohio.
Really? That's
Yeah.
how you named it? Is there anything bad that happened from that? Like, is there like any like, do you have any like pathologies? Like, if you're watching a movie and you see someone fall, you grab like the side of the arms on your couch, or
No,
is there
no.
anything good that came from it?
Where I am today, I mean, I don't think anything that happened these past 12 years that would have happened if it wasn't for that. I think it's how you react to a lot of things. I think, I could have easily reacted and said, there goes high school football, college football, things that I wanted to be able to do, in my mid-teens are just gone. But I think being able to react in a different way and be able to take that elsewhere is everything. And I think you can sit there and kind of feel bad for the situation that you have. But if you take full advantage of like, hey, what can I do? It can lead to a lot of great things.
I was young enough that I didn't care. It was just like, you know what I mean? It was just like something that happened. Okay, I'm in the hospital a couple weeks. Okay, I eat ice cream. But you were a little older. You said 11.
Yeah.
Did you care that they took football, that things got taken away from you? Were you old enough
Yeah.
to be like, oh, this sucks?
Yeah. Originally I was, and I was like, okay, well, like, what am I gonna do? Like, what can I do? I actually ended up switching schools 2 times, and I don't want to say it was because of that, but I ended up switching to a Catholic school to be able to kind of really focus on that. Especially, I really struggled, I think, learning and my attention. It might have just been my age, but I really started to struggle in school, with paying attention and being able to comprehend things. So I went to a school that was going to allow me to be able to do that. And I felt like that started to come together a little more and more, but like that just took some time.
So I'm not sure if I'm following the logic here, but were you going to a school specifically because it had a great sports program, and then when you realized you weren't going to play sports, you switched to a school that had a better curriculum?
Yeah, somewhat. But again, that wasn't like necessarily the full reason. I think, it's give and take. The school that I switched to didn't have football, but they had a great basketball program, which is what I kind of switched over to in high school.
Okay, so that's interesting because I heard you mention in another interview that you got in an accident, and I thought it was a car accident. Did you get in a car accident?
Yeah, I've been in a car accident, but it was nothing like severe.
Like that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had that. I mean, I also had, I think it was because of that car accident, I ended up getting an infection on my spine, where they had to go in and do spinal surgery. That was before this accident, where they actually didn't think I'd be able to walk again.
How old were you then?
I want to say 7.
Okay, now you have to turn around and tell them, hey, if another person orders a smoothie, I'm going to put a foot in someone's ass. Hey, was your brother in the car for that accident?
Yeah.
Wow. Did he get hurt?
No, it wasn't anything bad. I think it was just like the jolt ended up messing with my spine a little bit, and ended up getting an infection in there.
Do you have steel plates
assumption.
in your spine like Matt Fraser?
No.
Hey, I bet you both of those accidents, no matter how severe they were for you, did more damage to your mom and dad.
Oh, 100%.
I bet you that just took like, they were going to live to 130 and now they're only going to live to 104.
I thought I was going to get put in a bubble.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you start doing CrossFit, and does just is the pathway already set? You're just like, you see what Scott's doing, so you're just like, hey, this is what you do. Like if he was a running back, then you would have been a running back. Hey, he's a games athlete, so I guess that's what I'm going to do. Like, you're just like, all right, there's the trail. This one doesn't have a 75-foot drop. I guess I'll take it.
No, I think, and this is what I think a lot of people forget, is that we got into CrossFit at the same time, and we've been doing it just as long. It just so happens that his body was grown to be able to do it at a competitive level much earlier than us. But that didn't change the fact that, when I was 12, 13, 14, that I wanted to go to the CrossFit Games, and that as soon as I moved out with Scott, I trained as if I was going to the CrossFit Games every summer that he went. So I don't think really much has changed, but I think that's kind of more what happens behind the curtains and what people don't see and people don't realize.
How many years older than you is? How many years older is Scott?
9-ish.
You know what's a trip is, I bet you most people, so he's 34. By the way, I don't think he's retiring.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah,
he did too good, man. He did too good.
I tell him just one more.
Yeah, he did too good.
Saxon, did he tell you after the games? He goes, if I had 2 good knees, I would have had you.
No, he didn't. It was funny. He said, I'll know when to hang it up whenever you beat me. That's always what he told me.
When I see you guys on the field together, I all I ever look at is your guys' eyes, because it's what I look at in my boys too, and I see the way you guys look at each other. It must make your parents so proud to see like the bond that their boys have. There's nothing better for parents, and you're about to like see this too. When your kids are getting along and your kids love each other, it's like it's the shit. There's nothing better than that. Oh God. It's great. But I would guess that most boys or girls, if they have a sibling that's 9 years older than them, they don't really have a relationship.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think growing up, it was always Spencer, my sister, and me, and then my 3 older siblings. Because there was always, I feel like, that gap. Like we were always within. I mean, obviously I'm a twin, but within 2 years of each other, and then there was like a big 5-6 year gap between my other siblings. Something like, there's just so many, it's hard to remember. But I always felt like it was those 3 and us 3, and I felt like as soon as I moved out here, we were able to grow our relationship with our older siblings a little more.
Your sister's only 2 years older than you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that. For some reason, I thought I must have misheard. I thought she was older than Scott. And so, yeah, I mean, you think about it, if Scott's how many years older did you say? 9 years older?
Yeah.
I mean, just
almost 10, 9.5.
Yeah. So like when you're 9, he's 18. I mean, like,
yeah,
like just imagine you're 3 and he's going through puberty, and it's just like, screw these little rugrats. You know what I mean? Like,
he was changing my diapers.
And so it's I'm guessing the last 5 years. Tell me about that relationship, about how you and Spencer and Scott have grown closer together in the last 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. Our dream was always to open up an affiliate and
to
be
you
able
and
to
Spencer?
Yeah, together. Okay. So when we moved out here, we worked at Scott's gym and worked underneath him for 4 or 5 years. And really just focused on learning from him the business side, the coaching side, and then the athlete side. And I felt like through that bond, I mean, we were with each other, from 9 a.m. every day until 8 p.m. every night. So I felt like that bond really grew through that.
And then he had a kid and made you an uncle.
Yes.
and that was probably a growth moment too, right? Because then all of a sudden your title changes based on what your brother's doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you did it back to him.
I did 2 times.
Yeah.
What's the difference in age between his child and yours, twins?
Like 8 months ish, about 8 months. Yeah.
So they'll be seeing a lot of each other.
7 months. Yeah.
Oh man. Hey, has it changed everything for you? Like, by that I mean, like, my wife has a sister, right? And and we don't see them very often. I don't know, once a year. But the second we had kids, all of a sudden I felt closer to my wife's sister, and I wanted more family around, and I wanted the cousins to get together, and all of these things that I never gave a shit about before, all of a sudden at 43 years old started mattering to me. I don't even know why.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think the big thing that I want to focus on is like all of our family to be really close. I never want it to be, like a distance cousin where you never really saw them or talk to them too often. But I want everyone to feel like they can always go to each other if they need something. And I think my whole family always felt that way, was just being able to call anybody whenever you need something and really have that bond with each other.
It's amazing how many people don't have that in this land. They don't. The parents can't stay together. And I'm not making a dig at anyone. Relationships are hard as shit. They're hard as shit. But if you can keep it together, man, there's nothing better than extended family. And then you've done it really right. 20 miles away is perfect.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like an easy ride, but I mean, it's nothing like where you're seeing each other necessarily every single day. So I think it really makes you appreciate your time together.
Yeah, for sure. Is Spencer gonna have kids soon? Does he have anyone like in the?
I don't think he'll have kids too soon, but who knows? Anything's obviously possible.
Right. Boys are
Uh,
squirrely.
yeah. So, but no, I think his big goal right now is to compete in CrossFit and get to the CrossFit Games. And I think when that happens, I think a lot of things will change for him. And um, he's whenever he makes it to the CrossFit Games, I think it's going to be something really special. I think he has everything together, mentally, physically. I think it's just a matter for everything clicking over a weekend. I think when you see your whole career and like what you train for 365 days a year to be determined on one weekend, and any slip up can happen. But I think it's just timing that, whenever you bring everything together on one weekend and it clicks, I think it's something special.
Did you mourn at all? Is it like did you when he didn't make it? Did you feel any like how did you handle that when he didn't make it and you did?
Yeah, it was tough. I really wanted all three of us to be able to compete. We knew that this was going to be Scott's year, and we wanted to be able to go out with. I think it would have been the first time three brothers competed, and to have like three brothers compete at the CrossFit Games out of 40. Um, that's a big chunk of the field. I think that would have been something really special, but it just wasn't his time, and I think we all knew that, and we're okay with that. But we do know, like, whenever he does step on the field, that it's not going to be like, oh, I went to the games and I took 21st. Okay, I took 15th. Kind of like the path that I took, where it was like 21st, 15th, 11th, and like slowly working your way up. I know whenever he actually goes to the games, he's going to make like a very big splash and a very big impact. And I think whenever that happens, it's going to be special.
Is there anything that you can relate to growing up that was similar to the feeling you had when he didn't make it? Like I'm guessing when you're 3 years old and you get the better birthday present, it's like, aha, I got the better one. Then I'm guessing at 12-year-old, when you're 12 and emotions have set in, you're like, okay, I'll share this with you. Or like if you get picked for something and your brother doesn't, or your brother gets picked for something and you don't, it's kind of like almost hard to celebrate it because you want that for the other person. Was there anything that you can remember having those same feelings like when you were younger that translate to this?
Yeah, I would say like sports. So like we played pretty much everything. So like soccer, if I was on a different shift than he was, or basketball, if I was um, on one shift going out and I was in the starting five and he was coming off and I was coming out and he was taking my position, where we never got to compete together. Because I feel like whenever we get the opportunity to compete together, I feel like we really thrive off of each other. And I feel like, again, kind of like what I was saying with weightlifting, like the standards getting set higher and higher. And whenever we can bring that together, I think a lot of things can happen. I think it's, again, I keep saying it's something special.
Saxon, can I challenge you on something here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been way too nice to him. Get him.
Well, you say that you think he has all the tools mentally and physically, but I just observing you guys as an analyst of the sport, as I try to do, notice the same deficiency that you each have, and this one actually kept him out of the games this year, I think, which was on the ruck run, whereas by far his worst finish. And in the year 2019, when it was at the games, it was also by far your worst finish.
Right.
So to me, there is something's missing there.
Yeah. So I think the big thing, I mean, you look at, look at any running event, even at the games, I finished, I think it was top 15 in the running event. Running was something we were always really good at, but I think as we put size on, we obviously slowed down a little bit as our weights went up, and that's something we need to counterbalance. But I mean, what the conversation Spencer and I had with the ruck run, we were like, okay, here's the thing. Whenever you have 60 pounds on your back, weight's going to move weight. And we're not the heaviest guys in the sport. But I think whenever you're talking about, putting 60 pounds on you, like size will help move that size on your back. But I think if you were to do that as like a pure like running event, I think you would have seen a completely different outcome. But like outside of that, if Spence would have hit his snatch, which I know he was more than capable of doing, and he knows he was too, he would have also been to the games. So I think it was more of like the execution and the pressure of being able to do that, because he has a 310-pound snatch. Like there's no reason he shouldn't have been able to hit 265 for 2 reps. And I know if he would have done that, he would have been to the games. And that's a conversation that we had. Like we weren't really upset about the ruck run, even though he took close to last in that. It was more something that we knew that he was more than capable of.
And that was really, I was surprised that he didn't hit that snatch also, because I watched you guys as a fan in, I think, 2017 at Wadapalooza. I saw Scott and then you and then Spencer snatch 275 on the Bayside stage. I think after swimming
It
back
was
to back to back.
285. Yeah, we all
Oh,
hit
yeah,
285.
crazy.
And again, like I said, we knew that he was more than capable of that. And I don't know if it was the pressure or getting caught in the race around the people beside him. And maybe that's something that he needs to get more experience with, is, people competing to the left and the right of you. And I think if he's able to execute everything perfectly and to the best of his ability, he would have easily punched his ticket.
Even despite the ruck. I mean, Danny Spiegel
Yeah.
basically did the same thing at the same competition. So
Right. So I think everybody's allowed one mess up. I think to become the fittest man on earth, you can't have that. But I think a matter of getting there, that's okay. I mean, look at my Granite Games. I think I didn't finish outside the top 7, but I also didn't finish inside of the top 2 at all. I think my best finish was 3rd, which showed well-roundedness and perfect execution. But I never had those home runs. And like the biggest takeaway for me was, to win the games, you got to be able to win events, and you got to be able to stay consistent.
yeah, I actually had this almost exact conversation with Pat Vellner 2 years ago. I was like, man, you're doing everything right, but you're not winning any events at the games. You got one event win at this point in your career and 3 podium
Right.
finishes. If you want to get to the top spot, you have to have that.
100%. And I also don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's something that you could easily fix, because it's not like, hey, I have to work on getting stronger. I got to work on my running, or, I need to get better at gymnastics, because you have everything that you need there, but you got to be able to take calculated risk. Like, okay, I'm really good at muscle ups and heavy deadlifts, right? So I'm going to go for it on this pig flip workout, or, the run clean one. Like, I have 370 clean. I know 350 won't be bad. You need to run as hard as you can to go win that event. And I just think just things like that, you necessarily don't have to win every event, but I think you need to have little things like that. And I specifically remember Rich talking about that. I forget what year it was, but I think he was going into Sunday and he didn't win an event. And he said, I think it was in a documentary, and he said, if you go and you win the games and you don't win an event, people are going to ask questions, and people are going to say, like, is that really the fittest man on earth? And I would agree with that statement. Like, you need to be undisputed. You need to be able to show, like, you can win events.
It was almost poised to happen this year. I mean, Justin had not won a single event, and he really and he didn't only win the last event. I think he was second, but he kind of emphatically put the pedal to the metal and crushed everyone, at least in the final heat there. And I think that was reassuring for people. Like, if he hadn't done that and he'd just taken 5th and won by 30 points, everyone would have been asking a little bit more questions. But finishing the weekend that way, I think people feel a lot more comfortable saying, yes, you're the fittest and you earned this year.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I mean, you look at the media, and that was the first thing that they said was, like, you ended on a high note. And that they seem to make a really big push on, like, hey, you won this event, like, you won the games.
And that's pretty common too. A lot of times the fittest do win the final event at the games, or if not, then they're like second.
Yeah.
Brian, when you use example like athletes, can you use Travis Mayer, not Patrick Vellner? Thank you. I think that story, whatever story you just told about Vellner, would have worked equally well with Travis Mayer as a example.
Because they both had so many podium finishes at the games, but never won.
Yes. Saxon, 5th place. I don't really know how to ask this question, because I'll just dig in and I'll keep refining it. Are you happy with that placement?
I think there's 2 sides to that. I'm very grateful for the position, but I also see, I think taking away from that, there's little things that I could easily fix, and I think it could easily and drastically change the results if I would have executed on just a few workouts. I think it's easy to play the points game of, like, if I did better in this and I did better in this, but I mean, I had 2 finishes where I was, the back 2 in the workout. And if those would have just easily been a 15th place finish, I would have been on the podium. And I don't necessarily and I think that's why I was very upset, because it's like, oh, like, I just want to get on the podium. No, you don't want to just get on the podium. I think everybody has I want to win the CrossFit Games. And I think knowing that and, like, looking at some of my events finishes, how do you expect to win the games taking places like that? You can't. So I think that's my biggest takeaway is, like, knowing how to take those calculated risks. And I think
What was it? What was event 9 where you took 29th place?
Bike snatch.
Oh, that was the snatch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we go back to your weight again, right? That's a weight issue. If 10 pound, a guy 10 pounds heavier than you, theoretically, both of those movements would have been easier.
Yeah, for sure. But I think, Justin Medeiros is pretty close to my size. So I don't want to give myself that as an out. I don't think,
of course not.
I don't think size should ever be an out. I think it does help, but so does, I could say the same thing with handstand push-ups, right? I'm a shorter athlete, or chest to bars, I should do better in that. And a big guy shouldn't, but like, if you're the fittest man on earth.
You did do very well on both of those.
I did. But I think if you want to be the fittest on earth, you need to be great at everything, no matter your size. And I think that just comes down to, like, whenever I get on a bike, like, I got to be willing to hurt a lot more than those big guys.
Is the bike really, really bad?
No, I just
full throttle. Like Fraser says, he sold his soul to the bike every morning. That really, when he said that one time to me, I was just, I had to like block that out. I can't imagine, like, because the mental breaks that go on. Like, let's say you, like, someone like you is probably 100 RPMs, but for me, when I start seeing it go over 70 RPMs, I'm like, do you really want to do this? Like, it gets noisy in there between my ears.
And I think anytime you're on a machine, you can't see anyone else's machine. No one's advancing. You have no idea where anyone's at. And like, that just comes down to willingness to hurt anytime you're on a machine. And I think that just comes down to being able to trust your game plan and things like that. When I did that workout, I really trusted my game plan. I was at I look at watts. I was at like 600-700 watts, and I was still the last one off the bike, which just tells me people were pushing it. And like 600 or 700 watts, like, that's faster than I bike in any type of training. But I think that just needed to be pedaled down, because if you look at the typical 21:59 workout, about half the workout's in the first round. And if you can get far enough ahead, then it's just a matter of who can hold on and who has the capacity to be able to do that.
Can you get on a bike or can you get on a bike at any time and make yourself feel nauseous? Like, could you just get off this call right now and you know how to do that?
Yeah.
So like, that never goes away, no matter how fit you are. Like, how, like, you could in 20 minutes be feeling like you want to throw up. You could hang up on us and then just go get on a bike and.
Yeah. But I think,
go ahead.
I think what that can do to you mentally, can change your career. You know what I mean? If you do that, I would say necessarily every single day or twice a day. Eventually you're going to get better at it. But I also think, like, okay, what's to say, like, you don't get into a workout and you use, that as an anchor of like, oh man, last time I did a workout on this leg, I hurt and my watts were low and things like that. And like, how do you not carry that over into that? So like, I think anytime you get on a bike like that and you're pushing that hard, I think like a great execution on that is going to be super important as well. And you need to be ready for that.
Yeah, it's happened to me once or twice in 15 years, and it totally has damaged me. Like, I avoid it at all costs. But someone like you, I'm guessing you have to go there on the reg.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like do you get nauseous working? Like, do you push yourself to a weird place, like, at least once a week, to where you're like, oh shit?
Yeah, I try to. I think you're good for that once a week. I think too much more than that, maybe 2 times a week. I think too much more than that, I think you can lead down a road that's going to burn you out.
Right.
Man, I really have a couple people in mind that I hope are listening to that right now.
Why? Do you know people who do that more than they need to, Brian?
Yeah, people that train in my gym that think they want to be Saxon Panchik, and they just cannot get this concept out of their mind, and their intensity is way too high, way too often. It's not going to work in the long run.
Oh God, I wish I had that problem. Okay, Brian, we're going to play a little numbers game. You ready?
Maybe, depending on what it is. I really.
Saxon may or may not like this.
Can I ask him one thing before?
Please. We're going to talk about event 9. We're going to figure out how many points he could have made up on that. Okay. But go ahead, ask him.
Well, I'm not so concerned about his event 9 performance. The one that sticks out to me was event
the yoke carry
13. We talked to.
Is that the yoke carry? Did he know exactly what you were talking about?
Because relative to the field, this was actually a worse event for him. Even though it looks better on paper, there's only one guy behind him, and it was Will Morad, and Will Morad was just completely out of this event. So Saxon was basically probably felt like he was last place here.
Yeah.
And knowing what I know about you, I was surprised that you. I'm not necessarily surprised you weren't top 5, but I was surprised you were bottom 5 on this.
Right. So
wait, before you answer that, can you? I want Brian. Why is that? Why are you surprised? What do you see in Saxon that makes you think he should have done better?
I think he's, similar to his brother. I think he's just got an incredibly strong midline, and he really focuses on positions. And there's the 600-pound yoke, but he should have enough experience. 12 years doing CrossFit, as strong as he is, 370 clean and jerk, 315 snatch, should be able to stand under that and move it fairly well.
And the GHD and the 100-pound sandbag is in the burpees.
I think it's irrelevant.
Okay. Sorry, go on.
So I think if you go back and you even watch it, I think a lot of it came down to sizing on the yoke carry. So I remember specifically in 2018, we finished on a yoke carry, and I had my setting on the middle setting. So we got 3 options, and I picked the middle setting, and we finished at a 660 yoke. And I remember I moved through the first 2 yokes very well, and I got to that last weight, and we were inside the Coliseum, and the yoke was barely off the ground, right? So I felt like it was just scraping, and I felt like my body compressed. So I was like, okay, this year I'm not going to make the same mistake. I'm going to have the yoke significantly off the ground. So I had it cleared off the ground probably by like a good 8 to 10 inches. So when we got to that 610 yoke, I picked that yoke up, and it was this high off of the ground, 8 to 10 inches. And now what happens is that yoke is taxing your midline exactly how it should, right? So like that was the hardest part for me, was being able to carry that yoke, because you had that weight shifting in so many different directions. Now, what a lot of other athletes did was they picked the highest yoke because we were on turf, and they barely got it off the ground, and it actually slid with them across the turf. So it was never taxing the midline. Now, again, I don't blame the athletes. I think that's just like you're playing the game, and that's it. And I remember someone coming back telling the girls, like, if you slide the yoke, like, that's it.
What do you mean? What do you mean that's it? Like, you'll get.
I don't know, whatever that means. That's just what one of the girls told me.
like it's a good thing to slide the yoke, or you'll get disqualified.
No, like maybe disqualified. And again, I don't know exactly what they meant. I wasn't there for that conversation.
I can tell you it's definitely not disqualified, because I saw at the end of interval 1, Justin Medeiros got the perfect slide. He not only put it down and slid, it moved 5 feet across the turf. It was incredible.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that they would have a rule like that. If you could pick it up with both your hands and carry it over your head and run with it, I think it would be legit. There's no there shouldn't be a standard on how you move it.
Right. And I think that's why I totally own that performance, and I can't even be upset about that performance, because I chose to put my yoke like that, and it just taxed my midline like significantly more than the other athletes.
Did you notice that, Brian? Did you notice that his yoke was like way too high? Like,
not his specifically. I saw that some of them were higher off the ground than others, but what I'm kind of curious now is when they sized you guys for the yoke pretty early in the weekend, and did they tell you that you were going to do it on turf versus in the Coliseum?
No, but here's the thing: we totally could have changed it, and I just didn't realize that till I got out there. And I had my first. I think that workout was made on the first round because the yoke was so close, so you didn't have to run across the field to be able to get to it. So like the fact that people were able to get on that yoke very early and get a majority down the field, they were guaranteed to finish that in 2 intervals. Now, when I got there, I picked the yoke up, belt popped off, and I started carrying it.
And, oh shit!
And it got super shaky, and I think I maybe moved it 10 to 15 feet. And I'm like, oh man, like put the seatbelt on, like we're strapped in.
Why did your belt pop off?
I don't know. Bad Velcro.
I do think there's a very positive thing you can take away from this, is that, I mean, we talked to Lazar Jukic, who finished 1 spot ahead of you and had a problem with this workout also. And he said it just crushed him, and it was affecting the next 2 workouts for him. But in your case, despite having to do more work than most of the people, because you had to do all those extra GHGs and sandbag cleans and burpees, you still had possibly your 2 best finishes of the weekend after that, the last 2 events of the weekend, which I think you can walk away and say that's a testament to your overall fitness and preparedness.
Right. And that was the big thing. I think if I executed every workout like those last 2 workouts, I think we would have seen a significantly different outcome. And that's okay. I think whenever I do want to and I plan to win the games, I want to be able to have a performance like that where, like you're seeing those top 3 finishes in every single event. Like I never want to, and obviously I'll be blessed to win the games if I ever did. But I think being able to go and actually have perfect execution and leaving no doubt for like the people, that's really what I want to be able to have. And you either to me, there's no failure, right? You learn. And every single event that I had a bad finish, I learned from every single one of those. That like if those movements ever come up again, or like what it's paired with, I know what to do to be able to execute that perfectly. And I think if you can execute everything perfectly over 15 events or however many events are at the CrossFit Games, you're going to have a great outcome.
When you're looking kind of to the future and the potential to win the games, are you more focused on that execution? Do you see the 4 guys ahead of you and say, well, these guys are in the way, or is it some kind of combination of those things?
I think whether those events came, that last day was the last 3 events or those were the first 3 events, it doesn't matter. I think Dave knows how to expose everybody at some point of the weekend. And you just don't know when that's going to be. You could have somebody easily at the top. I think Granite Games was a great example where you had Anthony Davis at the top. And then I think you had Colton Mertens at the top. And like they were having these great performances. And then you get to the last day and all of a sudden everybody fell off. So like these guys got a whole bunch of hype over those first couple of days, but someone being consistent underneath really doesn't. But like they had, in my opinion, better executions throughout the whole weekend. But you just have that hype. It's just kind of like the luck of the draw of when those events come up, when you're going to be exposed.
You're lucky Brian's here, or else we'd be talking about being twins the whole entire show. Do you see that do you see that Bjorgvin, Karl Gudmundsson, Brent Fikowski, and Patrick Vellner are probably all who knows if this is true or not? Like I have no idea if this is true, but let's just say that they're waning, right? And
Yeah.
Clearly you and you could even say that about Janikowski. And then clearly you
Janikowski is like 6 months older than him.
I know, but he's got a lot of miles on him. Okay, fine. I won't say about Janikowski. But you, Janikowski, Guy, and Justin Medeiros are probably all still getting better. For sure, you and Guy and Justin Medeiros are still getting better.
Come on, we got to throw Lazar in there. He's the same age. He's in the top 10.
Right. Sorry, my computer had him blocked. My computer screen. Do you think about that, like moving forward? Or is it like, fuck any of that nonsense? I'm just going to be the best. I'm going to smash all these guys, like whatever.
Yeah, I think you can't get too caught up into how other people are training and where they're at. Anything could happen, right? You don't know what people have going on in their lives. I mean, I think mentally it taxes people more than you can imagine. You're seeing a lot of people's breakdowns on Instagram where they're like, oh my gosh, I was really nervous about this event, or like, I didn't know what was going to happen. And you just see,
I almost shit my pants on this event.
Yeah. And I think you see that and you're like, okay, like this taxes on people more mentally than anything. I think physically you could do this sport and compete until you're 35 plus. I mean, Scott's a great example. He's 33. I think he could easily do this another 2-3 years. But it's, what is it doing to you mentally? And I felt like mentally, even this year, it taxed me probably the most because I trained the hardest for it, which means I had a lot of pressure on myself to be able to perform. And I think when you're that high in the sport and you put that much pressure on yourself, it could take some years off your competitive life.
Can't you just play like some Kanye West or something and just be like, quit being a pussy and just move on?
I think you could, but I think if you do that and then you go out and you have a great event, you're like, oh, that worked. Or and then you do it for the next event, you go out and you have a bad event. You're like, that didn't work.
There's a lot of mental games then, I guess you're playing with yourself, right? Like just whatever it takes to get through the next hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do stuff like that too. Like, hey, if you can just finish these last 30 burpees unbroken, then you'll win $1 million. Like I would make up nonsense prizes.
For sure.
Whatever it took.
Yeah. And I do that same thing in training of like, you hit this lift, you're going to win the games, or you miss this lift, you're going to lose the games. And I think being able to give yourself those little challenges along the way mean a lot, because that's just coming, there's really nothing on the line, but you're putting the pressure on yourself to be able to do that.
Yeah. It feels real in the moment, right?
100%.
Nick of Time. It appears Saxon told everyone in the coffee shop to shut the hell up. Great show as usual, guys. Nick of Time. Yeah, Nick, I think he's too nice to do that, but I do think he's probably flexing his lats as big as he can in the back, and people see that. And so, like, everyone's, like, keeping it down. Did you get a chance to talk to Colton Mertens at all? One of my favorite. What's it
No, I
called when
didn't.
someone's an outlier? One of my favorite enigmas. You didn't.
I didn't. No. I didn't get to talk to too many athletes. I felt like we were constantly like on the go this year more than I think any year. And I think I was just really focused on competing, executing, and feeling my body. And I really didn't have a lot of time to be able to, like, I felt like anytime I spent time talking to somebody, like that could be time where, you know, I could be eating to be able to fuel myself for that event. So like, I just felt like, and I wish it's something that I could do more and have the opportunity to do that. But I just don't think that's the case whenever you have, you know, your career on the line for a weekend.
What will you there's 24 hours in the day and your day was full, right? You did training, you fussed around on your phone, you hung out with your wife, you, I don't know, did the wash, and now you have twins. And so something has to go, right? And like it was interesting. Like I was talking to who was it? I was talking to, I think it was Rich yesterday, said he got off of social media. Yeah, it was. Is there
Yeah.
anything like you're like, okay, I have twins now and I need to get rid of this, this, and this. Like instead of like, I don't know, it could be as simple as like, hey, instead of like worrying about getting dressed every day, I'm just gonna have 10 shirts that are the same, 10 underwear the same, and 10 shorts are the same, and I'm gonna simplify that. Like, do you manage your time like that? Or are you like, okay, I have to get rid of this, this, and this?
Yeah. Well, first, I only have 4%, just a heads up. So if I die, that's what happened.
Okay.
But
the second you're gone, me and Brian are gonna talk mad shit about you, just so you know.
that's okay.
So,
This guy doesn't have a charger or a laptop. No, I think balance is a huge thing, and I think there's different ways that you can balance things. And I don't think I think there's some things more important than other things. But I think there's always a way, as long as you're communicating with the people that you care about around you, that you're able to balance everything and be okay with that. I don't, where I'm at right now, I don't want anything to go. And I'm happy with where I am, and I'm happy with like how I'm doing in the sport and how I am family wise and business wise, that I don't think anything needs to change. But like if something else was to come up, yeah, something might need to go, but that will be something I'll have to reevaluate and see like, okay, like what's working for my family and what's not working for my family.
Sevan, if you want to ask him any more questions about Rich, you can say the guy who finished one spot below you in the Open this year.
Wow, you beat Rich in the Open this year.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Hey, I don't like to hear that you're happy where things are at. That made me nervous.
No, I meant. Are you talking about what we were just talking about?
Anything. I just don't want you to be happy. I want you to like to be like, I want you to be happy, but I want you to be like, hey, there's a rock in my shoe still, and I need to get that out. Like, I'm not okay. Like, I do realize I'm going to have to give up something that I love in order to eat, to get Medeiros, Vellner, and Fikowski and Bjorgvin. Screw these guys. I'm going to give this up, and I'm going to get you, and it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, I think it would be opportunities like this.
Just to get yelled at by me and Brian. Oh, did you stop doing podcasts? Yeah, I'm gonna stop doing podcasts. Fuck you, Sevan.
No, I just think it would be taking those little things out like that. I think, extra conversations that I'm having with people in my affiliate that aren't necessarily necessary.
You just lost 2 clients. You just lost 2 members. Sorry.
Right. What are you gonna do? They had to left for a reason. I'm hoping they moved. But I think just those little things like that can slowly add up over time. That if I would be able to minimize those and reevaluate and see what happens, and if something else needs to go, I'll just check it again.
What's Facundo's role? What does Facundo do? Is he an agent, or is he?
No.
Does he do? No, he's not. Okay, I always thought he was an agent. What's he do? He's a programmer.
He does my programming. Yeah.
Is that Mayhem's programming? Does he do Mayhem's programming?
No, so right now he's working just with me personally, Spencer and I personally. So he's doing our pretty much personalized program. And I talk to him on a daily basis, and I actually have a call with him later this afternoon to reevaluate of like what we need to focus on for this upcoming year to get a better result.
I always thought he was an agent. He's all handsome and he's got like a good personality and he gets along with everyone. For some reason, I thought he was like a Matt O'Keefe.
He could be a great agent.
Yeah, he's smooth. And like in his, I went to his Instagram yesterday, and he's got like leather seats in his car. He's got like all like the like he's got all the things you need to be an agent. Do you have an agent?
I do.
Who's that?
Yeah. Bijan.
Oh, wow. And he also has that's the guy who has Gunnar Nielsen, right? Oh no, that's
He works with Noah.
okay. I got him
Noah's
wrong, mixed
manager.
up with Snorri. Snorri. Bijan and Snorri. Jeez. I bet you we're saying those names wrong. Oh, his phone flickered.
I got 2%.
I bet you if you were in your car, you would have had a charger and we could have kept talking to you, but we just
I
wouldn't
do.
see you or hear you.
I do.
And how long have you been with Facundo?
So I started working with him. It's been a year, and I'm really happy with it. I mean, looking at where I've come in the Open, I think I've never finished inside the top 30 in the Open, and this year I finished 4th. And online qualifiers were never my thing. And then I went to the semifinals, quarterfinals, whichever one was online, and I believe I finished 7th. So like to be able to have those top finishes in an online format, I think was great. And then whenever I got to an in-person one, I ended up winning the Granite Games. So like just looking at my history in live competition, online competition, it's gone up significantly. So that just says that, what I'm doing right now is working very well.
And then do you just pass that programming on to Scott for free so he doesn't have to pay Facundo?
No.
Oh, okay. And who does Scott's programming?
I believe he does his own. And I think he works with Mayhem a little bit, or like Rich, and like bounces some things. I don't know exactly what he does. But I know that he was like training with their team, and that helped his training significantly. And Scott knows how to program for himself and how to get the results. I mean, he's really where I learned how to program. And I don't know. That was something like in 2019, I programmed for myself going into the games, and I finished 9th. But I felt like there was a lot of pieces missing as well. And then Scott actually introduced me to Facundo, and Facundo had me do some workouts, and I was like, okay, like this is a different way of training, but this is something that I think can be very beneficial to me. And I think just being able to expose yourself to different things and experience different things, I think is super important because it shows growth. I think if you continue doing the same thing over and over again, how do you really expect to grow from that?
Oh, what do you mean it's a different kind of programming? I just figured that they were all the same and just people put different stamps on them.
Yeah. No, he taught me, like, I felt like he really taught me how I can repeat movements over a full week. Like I always thought, okay, I did thrusters Monday, I got to wait until next Wednesday to do those. Now I learned that like I can do lower volume thrusters on Monday, and then I can do lower volume heavy thrusters on Thursday. And being able to put wall balls and thrusters together, technically the same movement, but very different, and they have their own stimulus and just little things like that.
Would it be weird if you and Spencer had different programmers?
I don't know. I feel like we've always been the same athlete, but very completely different athletes. And I feel like this is the first year that we got everything very similar, and we're on paper very similar athletes. And we've done the same programming since we were 12 years old. So on paper, I mean, you would look at it as like, we have the same strengths, we have the same weaknesses, and we would compete the same way. But obviously, like that's different because I think in CrossFit, like mental being able to be there mentally is a lot as well.
Do you guys eat the same stuff?
No.
Same diet?
No, he eats only chicken and rice, and I only eat ground beef and rice.
Okay, so same thing. And do you guys sleep the same amount, you think?
No, I sleep more than him. He doesn't need that much sleep. He was doing our morning classes when we first opened our gym, so he's like really good on no sleep, and I'm like, I need like 9 to 12 hours.
When you look at pictures of yourself as babies, back to the twin stuff. Can you tell the two of you apart? Like if you look at pictures of yourselves when you're 2 years old, you can say, oh, that's me and that's my brother.
Yeah, for sure. Spencer is like, I felt like had like kind of like a chunky face, and I was always like very like thin and like square.
Like I've never had a problem telling my twins apart, but when I look at pictures, it's weird. Like I can't tell. It gets all scrambled up in my brain. It's weird. But can your parents tell the difference between the two of you by looking at pictures?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, we probably would have a hard time.
Yeah, we would have a really hard time. And what's Facundo's relationship with Mayhem?
Yeah. You'd have to ask him that. I think he's worked
Good
with him
answer.
for
Smart.
he worked with him for a long time, and I know he's close friends with those guys down there. Um, and that's actually, I went down there and I trained with all of them for a little bit. When was it? I want to say back in April, and they just have a really great community down there. And I think they have really something special to be able to train with each other. And like I said, I think that community is very special.
Did you remind Rich that you would beat him in the Open?
I didn't. I'll wait till I get to hang out with him a few more times and get a little more comfortable to say that.
Yeah, that's. I had a podcast with him yesterday. It was the first time I talked to him in 3 years, and everyone's like, "God, you're being a pussy, Sevan." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait till I talk to him a few more times before I give him the full treatment." Do you think Spencer and Scott are listening right now? Or they're like, "We've heard enough of Saxon shit."
Maybe not now, but I'm sure they will.
It's gonna be hard. Wait, it's gonna be hard. Has a wonderful. That's not a full sentence, Joby. Someone wrote something. I'm gonna try to translate for you. It's gonna be hard. Has a wonderful attitude, and like that, he can separate himself, and he is from his performance, be they good or bad. Buddy, I hope English is your second language. Joby, I tried to read your comment. Let's just go with the last sentence. He says you have good character. I think he's talking about you, Saxon. He does have a great character. Oh man. Either that, Joby, you're either English is your second language or you're drunk. You could go with either one. You better have some excuse. Go ahead, Brian.
Saxon, you said Spencer's obviously preparing for some off-season competitions. Will we see you anywhere this off-season?
Yeah, I plan to do Rogue.
There it is.
And have you been invited already to Rogue? Go ahead, you answer for him. You pretend like you're Saxon.
Oh, we can assume yes based on what Lazar said. I'm confident that they sent out invites to the top 10 from the games.
Oh, you are? Is that how they roll?
Yeah. Usually they want 20 in the field, and they'll have invites for up to 15 of them. And I don't know if they've advertised what they're doing this year, but the fact that Lazar told us that makes me think they'd have at least invited the top 10. 14th, 13th. So they probably invited the top 15, and then as they've done in the past 2 years, it'll be an online qualifier for the final 5 spots. I think.
Joby, you should not have retracted that. Joby, you should not have retracted that message. What are you doing? That ruins my joke when people go back and look at the feed later. Come on, Joby. Take a joke, buddy. 20 burpees for erasing your message. Ryan, will you text Saxon? Hold that thought, Brian. Will you text Saxon and go, "Hey, asshole, we know that your phone didn't really die, and that was your way of getting off, you douche."
Sevan, you should be happy to hear that they invite the top 15 to Rogue, because you know who was 12th, right?
Travis Mayer. Oh, so Houday will be there.
He'll get invited. I mean, I would assume that he'd want to come. It's a pretty, I think it's pretty good. That's obviously a great event. There's a ton of money available, and it's an invitation. Like, it's very hard to qualify as a top 5 in the online qualifier. And if you've already got the invite.
You know who's not going to get the invite, which will be interesting if he does. I wonder if Jason Hopper will get the invite. Like, will Matt O'Keefe call Bill and Katie and be like, "Yo, hook my boy Hopper up"?
I mean, and I actually don't know what Rogue would do if or what they do if people decline.
Hey, Bill and Katie got to invite Colton Mertens. He should just be it.
Colton Mertens has qualified for Rogue via the online qualifiers, one of the top 5 qualifiers both seasons.
Oh, and have they had their online qualifier for this year yet?
Not that I know of.
I wonder if we should try to reach out to Bill and Katie and see if we can. Are you going to that?
I've never been invited to Rogue, and they've declined my volunteer application. So, no.
I wonder if we can somehow, like, I have Bill's phone number. I always feel bad texting him, but like maybe I can text him and be like, "Yo, how about a little home cooking?" And you hook Brian up and let him get back there, and we'd run podcasts and give us access so we can keep making $30 an episode on YouTube, and I can send my kids to jiu-jitsu.
35, thanks to Nick of Time.
Yeah, thank you, Nick of Time. Sevan used to drive me nuts listening to him. Now he has my favorite podcast, and I think he's probably one of the best interviews. So what happened, Scott? What changed? Did you change or did I change? Tell me. Raul Soto, bring Matt and Rich on. We had Rich on yesterday, and I couldn't. I should invite Matt. I don't know why not. I think I've just been hoarding them to myself, and I don't want to share them with Ryan, Matt, Souza, and Brian. And I did invite Josh on. I sent Josh a text this week, and I said, "Hey, will you come on my podcast?" And he said nothing. He didn't respond. We need Colton Merton's Docker series. I agree. I would totally watch the Colton Merton series. Someone should definitely do a YouTube series on him if there's a videographer. Hey, my wife was saying that I said that he takes care of 50,000 pigs, and I didn't. I said 15,000. Did I say 50?
I don't know, but someone just asked about Sam Briggs, and we are going to have Sam on, right?
Yeah, we have a scheduling conflict. That's it. She between Brian and I both have pretty crazy schedules. Brian's a real man and has a job, and then I take care of kids. And so I think Sam said that she's back training already. And so we're just trying to find a time, but she's game. She's totally game. And we really, really want to have her on. I think tentatively it's scheduled for next Thursday, but the times that have been proposed don't work for Sam, Brian, and myself. So
I think we do have a time for next Thursday that as of
We
now
do?
is good. I think so. But we want to get her on, and a lot of the athletes that you guys are frequently asking about, like
Mallory O'Brien.
Kristen Holta and Mallory O'Brien, Haley Adams, and Yonikoski, like we're reaching out to them and we're trying to find something that works. But a lot of them are traveling right now, or like Sevan said, it's we want to get them, have a chance to talk to them. So we are hearing you guys.
And no one's blackballed, by the way. Like, so there's just like basically what happens is we all send usually any contact information we have to Matt, and Matt reaches out to people. I know a lot of you have been asking for some masters athletes. Someone sent me an Instagram of this dude who's like 54 and like a total hunk. I don't know if he won or not, but I think I forwarded that to Souza, and we're going to try to get him on. I didn't look at his performance. I just liked the way he looked. And I know that I know we need to get Logan Aldridge on. He said he got a new microphone since the last time I interviewed him. So there's a ton of people, and then we have a ton of MMA fighters that we've reached out to. So hopefully, I really want to keep doing those one a week. If you adjusted the games for personal responsibility, height, weight, Colton would be podium, if not champ. Woo. No argument there. Oh, Ryan. I don't know if you guys can see Ryan. He gave a sideways stare. He didn't like that. If you adjusted the games for personal responsibility, height, and weight, I would just go with personal responsibility. I'm a believer in the Mertens. All right, guys. What are you doing now, Brian?
I'm going to eat.
And what are you doing, Ryan?
I don't know. I'm going to stretch, eat a little
perfect,
bit more,
perfect.
and then I'm going to
We
go
didn't
work
hear
out.
what you said. We can't hear you. Did you mute yourself?
Oh, shit. My bad. I have to unmute 3 things. I have a fail safe, so my mic doesn't get picked up, and sometimes I forget one. I'm going to go work out, or I'm going to eat, stretch, and then work out again.
You stretch?
I do.
You're too young to stretch.
I want to make the games, man.
All right. All right. Well, I'm going to load up the car and take my kids to their first jiu-jitsu tournament in Stockton, California. I'll basically be offline until tomorrow at 10 a.m. Brian, don't think that doesn't mean I'm not going to call you 20 times and bug you. But
Man, that's cool. I'm really excited for you to do that with your kids. You've been telling me about it for a couple weeks.
It's going to be dope. If you guys want to see some of the footage from my son Avi doing his first jiu-jitsu tournament, he's a gray belt. He's 6 years old. You would have to search very, very hard on Instagram to find my account. But it also might be at 3 Plain Brothers. But I don't know who's more nervous, me or him. You have to make a choice. You either have to make life easier or you have to get tougher. Colton Mertens. Did he say that, Tanner?
Yeah, he did. It's a dope quote.
Holy shit. Did he say that in our podcast?
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, my wife thinks that should be a shirt. My thanks Thanks, Elise.
Do you see
You
this
said,
last comment up here?
good luck, Avi.
No, no, no. The next one after the
Uh,
Colt Burn squad, right before Good Luck Avi.
Oh, that's Justin Medeiros right around the corner from me, the 209. Yeah, Justin. Hey, Justin, I'm going to send you the address of the tournament. I'll send you where we're partying tonight. The Hilton in Stockton. Hopefully it's like not full of gangbangers and shit. I was going to say
Saxon
something.
Saxon just texted us, by the way. Sorry about the phone dying. He'll be more prepared next time.
Oh, he was great. Saxon, you're the man, dude. You were so good. He was better than I thought. I was actually really nervous, right? I'm thinking it's going to be Scott Panchik's kid brother and he's not going to talk. And instead, I'd rank him in the top 10 of most articulate guests we've had.
Yeah, he's very well spoken and he's very I think he just seems very balanced. Like he's for a 25-year-old kid, he's got a lot of balance in his life, a lot of good perspective.
The question is can he beat Justin? We know he can beat Patrick, Brent, and Bjorgvin. They're going to be using canes in the next couple of years. The question is, can he beat Justin Medeiros?
That's a question everyone's asking, isn't it?
Does your answer is it influence knowing that Justin's listening? Like you're scared you're going to say something, Brian, and you won't come back.
No,
on the podcast?
Justin's. I mean, I already last time we had, or before the games when we had him on, and I said something and he didn't like it. He said, "Well, I'll just show you about that." So,
and he did.
And he did. He was 5th place on the water event.
God, he's a savage. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, Ryan. Thanks for giving us your Saturday morning. I know I know the games are your goal, and
It's not Saturday.
What is it? What's today?
It's Friday.
Oh yeah, thanks for giving us your Friday morning, Ryan. You still no thank you for you. You owe me your life. And Matt Souza, thanks for getting Saxon on. And we will probably. That's a great question, and we're gonna have Ricky Garrard on soon. Can Justin beat the great Ricky Garrard? That is.
And when are we getting Justin on too?
That's yeah. And we need to get Justin back on. I dropped the ball on that. We were supposed to. He said he would come back on Tuesday, and then we screwed up the first one with Justin. We had him on, and the audio was all jacked up. Surprise, surprise. And then I tried to bring Dave on, thinking it would be cute as a surprise guest, and that was a disaster. And
it was going really well, and then the connection just got bad. You know.
How about yeah, that's true. How about Dave and Danielle Brandon and Chase Ingram trying to start their own games podcast? What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? What are you guys getting on the bandwagon? You guys, listen. We'll let you advertise on the Sevan Podcast website. We're gonna launch soon. We'll let you advertise on there. What are you guys doing?
Is it their own separate podcast, or was it like on talking? Or what's Chase and Bill Grunler's thing?
No, it's different than Chase and Bill Grunler's. But Chase is amazing, and Danielle Brandon's amazing, and Dave's amazing. But come on, guys.
They did their own. They actually did their own thing.
They did their own thing. It hasn't been posted yet. I think they're going to try to be regular. But listen, you guys may be like the pretty dog on the block. Like you're the guy who brings the nice German Shepherd into the dog park. Dude, we're the ratty, like mutt. And like, we're just going to get you guys dirty. Just do something else. Chase, stick to broadcast where you're someone like you who's articulate and kind and polite shines.
Well, you know what?
Brandon should be training. And Dave Pastor, what are you doing?
And he has his own podcast, and it's good. They have the great discussions about programming and performance in competition.
Yeah, I need to check it out more. I actually spoke with Chase the other day, and it's weird that I hadn't heard of it, but yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out tonight. But don't start your own podcast, guys. Just chill, relax. Your plate's full. Leave it to us. We got this. Me, Ryan, Brian, and Souza. We got this. So you guys just chill.
I like their podcast. It's good. I'm a patron of their podcast, actually. I give them $6 a month.
Who, Bill and Chase?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. They should keep going. I'm just talking about like this super team that it's too much. It's too much. It's too much. Too much stardom on one podcast. Okay, Brian, are we going to do one on Saturday when I get back? No, we usually take Saturday off, or do we not usually do anything?
I don't know. We don't have any guests lined up for the weekend. I do have a idea in my back pocket that we could do if you want to do one just you and me sometime.
Could we get Hobart on there? I feel like we've been neglecting him.
Yeah. We should get Hobart on for sure.
All right. I'll give you a call later today. Maybe we can do that one Sunday.
Maybe. It probably later would be better Sunday.
Are you going to another Dave Matthews concert?
No, I'm training.
For what?
Disc golf tournament.
Oh God.
I don't want to show up and embarrass myself. I want to be good. I feel like I'm doing well right now, but I don't have a lot of opportunities to play. But Sunday mornings I do.
All right. What's more important, the listeners to the podcast or your?
I want to be in a good mindset for the listeners.
All right.
So I got to get outside. You can understand that.
I do. Oh, and someone said in Gary Roberts. I think I had Gary on a while back. I wonder what he's doing. I think he's back to arm wrestling. All right, guys. I do. I think he is. I think he's been filming.
That's like a 20-year circle if he's back to that.
That is. Thank you, everyone. Peace and love. Peace and love.
We're good. That was like